Hello, boys and girls in kindergarten and first grade. This lesson is for the week of May 11th, and we're going to talk about how we can be like Jesus. So, we've talked about how there were 4 reasons why Jesus came. Jesus came to save us from sin, to show us how we can be holy. He came to show us God's love, and He came to show us how we can get to heaven, right? Those are the reasons why Jesus came. And I want to talk with you about some of the ways that we can be like Jesus. So, remember how when we were in school together, sometimes we would play, instead of Simon Says, we play Jesus Says. So if I say, Jesus says, put your hand on your head, you put your hand on your head. If I say, Jesus says, touch your nose, you touch your nose. If I say, touch your ear, and you touch your ear, then you're out because I didn't say Jesus says, right? So that's a game that we enjoy playing when we're with each other at school. But that game helps us to make a connection. When we play the game Jesus Says, we follow the example of the person who's pretending to be Jesus. But in our everyday life, we want to learn how to do what Jesus says and also to do what Jesus does. And so today, we're going to talk about some of the things that Jesus does and how we can be like Jesus. So the first thing that Jesus teaches us about is to love everybody, even people that are mean to us, even people that hate us. That's really hard. Can you think of someone that's been mean to you before? Is it easy to love them when they've been mean to you? Like maybe your brother or sister, they were teasing you, and it's really hard to love after someone teases you, isn't it? But if we want to be like Jesus, we have to follow his example. And even when someone is mean to us or hateful to us, we want to choose to love them. We want what's best for them. We want to say something kind back even when somebody says something really mean to us. So, Jesus shows us that he wants us to love everybody just like him, even people that are mean, even people that are hateful. Another thing that Jesus does that we can do to be like Jesus is to take care of those who are poor, people who don't have a lot of stuff. Now, at BBM, we have such generous families and students, and many of you have helped to collect food for poor people, especially the people that actually I serve here at the mission of Our Lady of the Angels. So there are many people in West Humboldt Park who don't have enough food to eat. And you guys at times have helped to collect food for the poor, which is so wonderful. Jesus helped poor people all the time to have enough food, to have clothing. How can you be like Jesus to help people that are poor, don't have enough to eat, don't have the right winter coats or maybe a bed to sleep on? Another thing that Jesus did was he told others about God's love. Well, how can you tell other people about God's love? What are ways in your own life that you can share how much God loves you and help encourage or let people know that God loves them too? Maybe you could just tell someone, like your grandma, Grandma, God loves you. Or you could tell your friend, do you know how much God loves you? There are so many ways we can let people know about God's love. Another thing that Jesus did was he took care of sick people. He really loved people that were sick and wanted them to get better. And because Jesus is God, he was literally able to perform miracles where with the power that he has because he's God, people were totally cured from being sick. So sometimes people that couldn't walk, Jesus would perform a miracle and they'd be able to walk. Or people who couldn't talk, Jesus would perform a miracle and they'd be able to talk again. Jesus wants us to be like him and help to take care of people who are sick too. Maybe in your family, when someone has a cold or is sick, you could bring them some food to eat when they're hungry, right? Or you could just say something kind to them to help them feel better. There's so many ways we can help the people that are sick. Another thing that we can do to be like Jesus is to forgive other people. So, remember when we talked about in the beginning that Jesus always loves everybody, even people that are mean or hateful? We want to do that too. Well, one of the ways we can show love to people is by forgiving them. So, maybe your friend from school, there was a time when they said something unkind to you, or maybe somebody even fought with you. Well, you could say to that person, I forgive you for being unkind, or I forgive you for fighting with me. That is a really powerful way we can be like Jesus. And Jesus teaches us that it's really important to forgive others because when we forgive others, it opens our own hearts more to receiving Jesus' forgiveness for us when we make a bad choice and commit a sin. So, Jesus, to be like him, we also want to forgive others. The last way that we're going to talk about being like Jesus today is by not giving in to temptation. Not giving in to temptation. What is temptation? That could be a new word for many of us. Temptation is when we feel like we want to do something wrong, like we're kind of attracted to or drawn to, or kind of like, oh man, I want to do this thing even though I know that it's bad. Like, example, maybe your mom just made some cookies and she said to you, all right, I made some cookies, but we're not going to have any until after dinner. But you feel tempted to go and take a cookie before dinner. That would be a temptation. Or maybe your dad says to you, okay, you have to do your homework for 30 minutes before you can play. And you feel tempted, instead of doing your homework, to go and play in your room, like hiding from your dad. That's a temptation. So Jesus, to be like him, we don't want to give into temptations. When we feel like, ooh, I kind of want to do this thing, but I know that it's wrong, we want to say, Jesus, please help me so that I can do the right thing, so that I don't give in to temptation, right? And that's another way we can be like Jesus. So today, we talked about 5 ways that we can be like Jesus. We talked about how we can love people that are mean to us, people that aren't our friends. We talked about how we can serve the poor. We talked about how we can take care of sick people. We talked about how we can forgive other people who have been mean to us, who have not been kind. And then we talked about how we cannot give into temptation. So, boys and girls, there is a worksheet that you're going to work on where you are going to draw a picture of different ways that you can be like Jesus in these 5 ways. Oh, actually, there's 6 ways, and I put the numbers incorrect. I'm sorry. The 6th way is telling people about God's love. See, even Sister Alicia makes mistakes a lot of the time. But it's okay. You get to make 6 pictures instead of 5. That's exciting. And notice how in the worksheet, there's a person, a boy, carrying his cross just like Jesus. So when we love like Jesus, when we love other people, we, in a way, are making a sacrifice, right? And sometimes it's not easy to love. That's why the boy is carrying the cross. Because sometimes it's really hard to love and really, really hard to be like Jesus. But do you think Jesus wants to help us? Of course, he really wants to help us to be like him. So go ahead and draw some pictures of those ways that you can be like Jesus. And I can't wait to see your pictures. Make sure that your family sends them to me through Class Dojo or through email. And I will look forward to having a new video for you next week. God bless you. Bye.